All right, welcome to another episode of Vanderhall Life. Today what I wanted to do is kind of go over with you the things that I carry in my Vanderhall. A lot of people had questions about that. I have about 20,000 miles on my Vanderhall. I've owned it for a couple years now, driven on numerous short trips as well as probably about 15 or 20 multi-day trips. So these are the items that I carry in my Vanderhall. It's going to be subjective. Everyone's going to want to carry maybe something a little bit different, but this will give you a general idea. And I've divided it up to two different categories. Items that I carry with me that I highly recommend everyone carry with them at all times, or at least consider to carry with them. And then other items that you may want to consider that you don't necessarily need to have. So to go ahead and get started, definitely the thing that I would recommend the most would be a good electric screwdriver. There's just so many screws in the Vanderhall that you might need to tighten or that you need to take out in order to get at things. For example, the hood on the Venices have 8 bolts that you need to get through in order to get underneath the hood, which definitely can come in handy. And to go along with that is going to be some of these 4mm hex drivers. They fit almost every screw on the Vanderhall. One that I can think of offhand that's a little bit larger is going to be 4 of the windshield bolts that mount the windshield to the body of the vehicle. And to go along with that as well, I just went ahead and picked up a lot of 50 of these. Right now they're right around like $15, $16. If you only have one and you drop it, you're kind of toast, unless you can find it somehow. So they were relatively inexpensive just to, buy a big lot of them. Have a little adapter here. I carry a few extras in there as well, just in case. And also to go along with the screwdriver, another thing that I would recommend is going to be this. It's actually a drill bit extension. But it really comes in handy for some of those screws on the Vanderhall that you can't get direct access to. One that I could think of is going to be on the dash behind the steering wheel, a couple of those. You don't have a straight shot at them, or underneath or around the seat areas of the Vanderhall, a little bit tough to get to. So this allows you to just connect it to the screwdriver, and then you're able to angle this wherever you want to and hang on to it at the same time, be able to get at any screw that you want to get undone. So it doesn't take up a whole lot of room either in your little kit. So that's something that I would definitely recommend as well. I do also carry some backups just because it's easy enough. One of these, it has all the different hex heads on here. This is going to be metric, so it fits the Vanderhall, and I'm able to use these in case I run up against any screw that maybe is a different length as well. I do have a couple extensions also, but it was just easy enough to throw in my kit. Another item is going to be some pliers, good set of pliers. Not too many instances where you're going to need to have these. Maybe to get at a few of the bolts here and there. There's not too many that you need to get at on the Vanderhall. And you can have different, locking, a snout nose, long nose, different types of pliers. Relatively inexpensive. Just throw them in there. They're always good to have. Another item is definitely going to be duct tape. In case you have like a broken hose that you need to wrap, or if you just need to secure something on the Vanderhall, maybe if you're driving and a plastic part cracks or something like that, you're able to tape it up and also kind of use this to secure anything around it as well. So what you can also do is you could always unwrap this a little bit, wrap it around something else, and then you wouldn't have this big diameter of wasted space in there in the middle. But or you can actually kind of crunch it down and you're able to fit it into a smaller space. So that's definitely something that I would highly recommend. I do also carry some of these multi-tools. I just have them laying around. They were easy enough to throw in there. They do have usually a set of pliers that you're able to use. There's a knife in there. as well as some screwdrivers and things like that that you may need to have. And they're also easy just to throw in your kit and carry along with you. I just have a couple of those that were just laying around that I carry with me. So I have those in there as well. Another item is going to be a good tire gauge. Doesn't even have to be a good one, just any type of tire gauge is going to give you an accurate reading. So I believe that all of the Vanderhalls carry 25 pounds of pressure. You can look it up. It should be either behind the seats in the Vanderhall, on the panel right behind the seats, or I think in some models it's also maybe up underneath the dash. But it should be 25 pounds on those low profile tires. So this is something that I carry along with me just to check those, just in case. Another very inexpensive item, probably a couple bucks, no more than $4. Throw that in there. Comes with a couple extra caps, a few extra caps as well. And then from there, I would go to some type of booster jumper battery. These are getting better and better. You don't need to have a very expensive one for the Vanderhall. It doesn't take much to jump start it, especially if your battery is just barely lower than what you need to actually crank over the engine. So this particular one I have is going to be 1500 amps. It's 12,800 milliamps. I've jump started a lot larger vehicles with this thing than the Vanderhall. So you shouldn't have any problem with, one of these smaller ones. And you basically just plug it in. A lot of them will just automatically turn on, and then you're able to connect the jumper cables. So one thing that I will mention about this is I believe in the Carmel it might be the same, but you might be able to lift up the hood and get at some terminals that are separate from the battery. I know at least in the Venice you can take the hood off, and then you're able to get at some terminals that this is pretty easy to connect to. On the Venice, you need to go behind the passenger seat. There's a panel that you can unscrew by hand, take it off. Then you have access to the battery. But one of the battery posts, and I believe it might be positive, is about a foot in the back. So it's a little bit awkward to reach in there and connect this, but it can be done. That might be a little bit easier than going through the hood. On the Carmel, I believe that in order to get the actual battery, you might have to take off one of the rear fins by the rear tire in order to gain access to it. So, but either way, this is definitely something good to have. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're always able to jump it with this. One thing I do want to mention about this is that you're going to have to take this in about, I recommend once a month, every 30 days, take this in your home and charge it in some way. This can actually be charged via cigarette lighter as well, or a USB port. So I would definitely recommend, that you keep this fully charged. Otherwise, it's going to be worthless. Let's see, next item I have up is going to be some type of ear protection. You don't necessarily need to have this, I would say, for short trips, 10, 20 minutes, something like that. But if you're going to get up on the highway, interstate, those upper speeds, or if you're going to be driving for a little while, especially in the Venices with no roof, you're going to get a lot of wind buffering on your ears. And on the longer trips, that could just really wear you out. And it just kind of at the end of the day just ends up beating you up, so you're really, really tired. So I've tried 3 different brands of these. These are going to be moldable, so you can soak them in hot water, put them in your ear, mold them around so they fit really good. And then they stay like that. You can dunk them back in the hot water and mold them again if you need to change it or they don't fit perfectly the first time. This particular pair also has like a little insert that partially goes a little bit deeper in your ear to help protect it from sound, from loud noises. The ones that I actually I use these on longer trips. But one of the ones that I use most often that are easier and a whole lot cheaper are silicone plugs. You just kind of put them in there. They're, start off round, you put them in your ear, kind of just push them around, and they'll form a seal. You can get 20 of those for about $4 or $5. I got mine at Target. And I really like those. Just super simple. They'll get dirty just from the dust in the air, and they look kind of nasty. You know, they get kind of darker because they pick up a lot of dirt from the air, but it doesn't affect them in any way. You get like 20 of them for $4, so you know, after so many uses, if you want to throw them out, you can go ahead and do that and go on to the next set. But this is definitely something I recommend that you have, and like I said, at least the silicone ones are only like $4, so it's not too bad. Another item that I carry that a lot of people I don't think consider is going to be extra fuses. At least in the Venice, I believe it's probably true of the Carmel as well. There's going to be two different fuses that you're going to need to carry along with you. So I just went ahead and threw a bunch of assorted fuses in here into two little bags, and they don't take up a whole lot of room. Throw them in there. If you blow a fuse, you're able to replace it and be on your way. So that's definitely something I would recommend that you consider as well. So this one's going to be a little bit different. Something to consider though for the key fob in 2020 and newer models. It's going to be an extra battery. A lot of times these batteries will get low and you're not able to start the Vanderhall. And a lot of the vehicles in those cases have a special place that you're able to put the key fob that will pick up a signal from it when it's not able to broadcast a signal far enough. But to my knowledge, the Vanderhalls don't have one. I know that there's the antenna under the steering wheel. I've not been able to test it, but I don't believe that that's what it's actually there for, to pick up a low battery signal. I think that's just where the antenna terminates to pick up the regular signal from this. So that's something you want to consider, but there's one caveat to that. On the stock key fob from Vanderhall, you can't easily get into it. There's these 4 little screws in here. So if you're out on the road and your battery goes low, even if you have a replacement battery, you're either gonna have to break open this key fob to get at it, or you're gonna have to carry a little jeweler screwdriver in order to undo these 4 screws. I don't like this design that comes from Vanderhall because it just makes it more difficult to change. Some people have actually gone out and purchased an aftermarket, or I shouldn't say aftermarket, but different manufacturer key fob, like for GM vehicles that do open on there without any type of tools or anything like that. And you're able to take out the little circuit board in here and battery, put it in there, and then you're able to get access to that without the little jeweler screwdriver. The thing that I've actually done is I've gone ahead and 3D printed a different key fob. This one, I mainly printed it up so I'd have access to these 4 buttons that are in every key fob. They're just not exposed in the Vanderhall one. They really don't do a whole lot. They'll flash your lights, beep your horn, that's about it. But this one I am able to actually take apart without having any type of tools and be able to replace the battery in there. Kind of one note also is that I did get this submerged in water by mistake one time, and I wouldn't start my vehicle. But thank goodness I was able to take it apart, blow on it, dry it out, put the battery back in, and then it was able to start the Vanderhall. So definitely consider taking an extra battery with you, but then again, also consider the caveat that if you have the key fob from Vanderhall, that you're gonna need to carry a screwdriver, something to open it up with. So from there, we go over to the items that I would consider to be maybe a little less essential, something that you do want to consider that you may not necessarily need to carry with you all of the time. If you get a flat in the Vanderhall, 2 items. I like to carry these. They're relatively still inexpensive. It's going to be kind of an old school plug, so you're able to plug up a tire if you get a nail or a screw or something like that in the middle of the tread area, something that you're able to repair. You can kind of ream it out with this and then use the other tool to actually push in one of these tar plugs. I just went ahead to save some space, went ahead and taped these tar plugs onto the handles so I'd have them there, and that way you're able to repair the tire without taking it off, because as you know, one problem is that you don't have a jack in the Vanderhall to jack it up and take that tire off. So this is something that you're actually able to possibly repair that tire depending on where it's damaged or why it's damaged, why it's still connected on to the vehicle. So another thing to go along with that you would need to carry then is going to be some type of tire inflator. I got this. It's a little portable electric one that I can recharge via USB, and you just go ahead and set it to the 25 pounds, connect it, turn it on, and it'll automatically pump up to the 25 pounds of pressure and automatically turn off as well. So a little bit more expensive. You know, if you're in town, you might be able just to call a tow truck or something like that, or call somebody to come out and repair your tire. But if you're out in the middle of nowhere, this can be a lifesaver for you. And on that same note, what you also might want to consider is carrying maybe one of these can inflators. I do have one, I do carry one. I don't know that I have probably used one on a tire eons ago. And one problem with this is I don't know that this is necessarily going to inflate the tire to 25 pounds. We have low profile tires that don't need a lot of air in them, so I guess it is possible that this could pump it up enough to where you'd have enough pressure, and then hopefully the damage is going to be such that this is going to be able to fill that hole, dry up, and repair it so it's able to hold that pressure. But the other problem with this then is that your tire is going to be out of balance. You do want to inflate it and try to drive it as quickly as possible while that stuff is still in liquid form to kind of distribute it around the inside of the tire. But it's still going to be out of balance. You're still going to need to take it into the repair shop. And as I understand it, at least a while ago, they really don't like to clean those things out. It gets rather difficult. I don't know whether or not they're going to have a separate labor charge to clean all of that out, whether or not they are going to be able to clean it out. Maybe you just want to get rid of the tire and have it replaced at that point, that's fine. But maybe if nothing else, you do want to throw one of these in there and keep it just in case in order to inflate or repair and inflate a tire. Some other items I carry with me. These you really don't need to have, but at least on the Venice, these are going to be extra clips for the hood. I think it's highly unlikely that you're going to lose one of these. They may become bent enough to where you're not able to get it back on. But even if you can't get it back on, there's 8 of them. In the case of an emergency, you could drive with 6 without any problem. Probably not even have any problem driving with only 4 of them until you're able to replace these. But I got these to replace the stock ones. These are a little bit better, and I just got a big lot of them, so I throw a few of them in there just in case. Another item is going to be some type of first aid kit. This is one that I put together. It's something that I recommend you do as opposed to buying it. If you buy one, they're not bad. Even something like this, it's relatively smaller, might have Band-Aid and some antibiotic ointment or something like that in there. But if you can kind of get some supplies together and put together your own, I recommend that. And that way you're also familiar with how to use those items or what items you actually have in there. So I definitely recommend that you put a first aid kit in the Vanderhall, especially for longer trips, just in case. I do also carry just some extra USB cables in case I need to charge something or something of that nature. They always kind of come in handy. So in addition to the ones that I have in my glove box I use all the time, I just throw these in my repair kit just to have them in case. I do also carry some gloves, easy enough, don't take up any room, relatively inexpensive. Could just help you prevent getting nicks and scrapes and cuts on your hands if you have to do some working on the Vanderhall, or if you have to touch something hot, you don't get burned. Carry a rag or a towel along with me just in case. You can actually get water on these and then they kind of expand. It can be used as rags. Throw a few of those in there, but kind of go along with those items. I do also have this, bright orange vest that I can put over my own clothes in case I'm doing something on the side of the road or need to be seen, or you can drape this up as a signal, something of that nature. Very inexpensive, doesn't take up any room at all, easy enough to throw in there. And the last item, this is more so in case I need to jumpstart somebody else's vehicle, but a set of jumper cables. I bring this up, maybe if you already have a pair, you wouldn't necessarily have to buy a battery pack if you didn't want to. The difference is with this, you're gonna need to have somebody else's vehicle to jumpstart yours. So you're gonna have to be around other people that have that capability, and then you're gonna have to find somebody that's willing to jumpstart your vehicle as well. I would definitely consider the booster battery, because then you're able to do everything yourself regardless of the situation. But you know, if you don't want to get a booster cable, if you do have some jumper cables sitting around, throwing them in the back of the Vanderhall, because those batteries can go dead at any point. I mean, that is maybe one of the problems with the Vanderhall OEM batteries, is that they just don't last that long. A lot of people aren't using them over the winter time. They'll sit, maybe not keep them on a trickle charger, and if the battery wears down and you have to charge it back up, that's really going to hurt a cranking battery. It's going to definitely cut down on the longevity of it. So something that you know may want to consider if you already have throwing these in the back of the Vanderhall. So kind of went through all of the items that I carry with me, things that I recommend that you carry as well. Like I said, it's really subjective. You know, certainly if you have some other ideas, maybe something that you missed, feel free to put that information down in the comments below. I'd love to read what other people carry or they recommend, or kind of go through your kit and kind of list it out down below. I'd love to hear from it. Anyway, I really hope this video helped you. I appreciate you watching it through to the end, and I wish you all the best.